More than 5,000 years ago, along the fertile banks of the Nile River, a civilization emerged with a belief so powerful that it changed everything they knew about life, death, and eternity. The ancient Egyptians did not see death as an ending but as a transition, a doorway into another world where life continued forever, and, because of that belief, they developed one of the most complex and fascinating systems ever created to prepare for what comes after death. In ancient Egypt, a human being was not just a body, it was a combination of different spiritual elements. The most important of these were the Ka and the Ba. The Ka was the life force, the energy that made a person alive, and it continued to exist after death. While the Ba represented personality and individuality, often depicted as a bird with a human head, capable of moving freely between the worlds of the living and the dead, for eternal life to exist. These two elements needed to reunite with the physical body, and that is why preserving the body became essential. Without the body, the soul would be lost forever, and from this belief, the incredible process of mummification was born, a sacred ritual that combined science, religion, and art. A process so advanced that, even today, it continues to amaze researchers. The mummification process took around 70 days and followed precise and careful steps. It began with purification. The body was washed with water from the Nile and sacred oils, preparing it for transformation. Then came one of the most unusual and delicate procedures, the removal of the brain. Embalmers used a hooked tool inserted through the nose to break and extract the brain, a method that seems shocking today, especially because the Egyptians did not consider the brain important. Instead, they believed the heart was the center of intelligence, emotion, and memory, so the heart was left inside the body, treated with great respect, while the lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines were carefully removed and preserved separately. These organs were placed in canopic jars, each protected by one of the four sons of Horus, ensuring their safety in the afterlife. After the organs were removed, the body was covered in natron, a natural salt that removed all moisture, preventing decay. This stage lasted about 40 days, slowly transforming the body into a preserved form. Once dried, the body was cleaned again and prepared for wrapping. Layers upon layers of linen were carefully wrapped around the body. Sometimes hundreds of meters of cloth were used, and between these layers, priests placed protective amulets, each one carrying magical power and meaning. Spells were recited during the process, turning the act of wrapping into a sacred ceremony. Finally, a funerary mask was placed over the face, allowing the soul to recognize its body and return to it. This entire process ensured that the body would remain intact for eternity, but preserving the body was only part of the journey. The next step was burial. And Egyptian tombs were far more than simple graves. They were designed as eternal homes, filled with everything the deceased might need in the afterlife: food, furniture, clothing, jewelry, tools, and even games. Walls were covered with paintings and hieroglyphs that told stories, offered protection, and guided the soul through its journey. For the wealthy and powerful, tombs became massive structures, pyramids, and hidden chambers carved deep into rock, built not only to honor the dead, but to protect them from thieves. Although many tombs were eventually looted, the belief behind them never changed, because what truly mattered was what came next. According to ancient Egyptian belief, after death the soul would begin a dangerous journey through the underworld, facing trials and challenges before reaching the final judgment. This moment took place in the Hall of Two Truths, where the heart of the deceased would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the symbol of truth and justice. Overseeing this judgment was the god Osiris, ruler of the underworld, while the god Anubis guided the soul and adjusted the scales, and Thoth recorded the results. If the heart was light and pure, the soul was allowed to pass into eternal paradise, a place known as the Field of Reeds, a perfect version of life on earth where there was no suffering, only peace and abundance. But if the heart was heavy with wrongdoing, it would fail the test and be devoured by the terrifying creature Ammit, ending the soul's existence forever. This belief in judgment and eternal life shaped every aspect of Egyptian society. It influenced their laws, their morals, and their daily actions. Because everyone knew that one day they would stand before the gods and be judged, and so they lived with the hope of immortality, the desire to be remembered, to continue existing beyond time itself. Today, thousands of years later, the mummies of ancient Egypt still remain, silent witnesses to a civilization that refused to accept death as the end. Their tombs, their rituals, and their beliefs continue to fascinate the world, reminding us that the search for meaning beyond death is one of the most powerful ideas humanity has ever known, and perhaps, in their own way, the ancient Egyptians succeeded, because even now, their story lives on, eternal, just as they intended.